What's next for the Toronto Raptors? We talked about this on the NBA show, link in the description. We're live Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, what we discussed there was I listened to a recent tampering podcast from The Athletic, and what they did was they discussed the two routes that the Raptors have. The Raptors could trade, Gary Trent, Fred VanVleet, because any other type of trade would signal a rebuild, which I doubt that they want to do. They're trying to retool. And that's the first thing we could see happen. The second thing we could see happen is a repeat of the 2020 season where they trade maybe one guy similar to how they traded Norman Powell. So they either traded like Gary Trent or Fred VanVleet still, and they sit guys. They sit OG, they sit Pascal, and they have Scotty, Christian Coloco, and Malachi Flynn and the rest of the young guys play out the rest of the season, get some repetitions, and then tank for a good draft pick because they have their draft pick, and then have this be their last bad season. It's a good draft class. Maybe get yourself like, one of the Thompson twins, Cam Whitmore, okay, Maxwell Lewis, whoever it is that you would go at the top, and you can go like that. That's what's been floated around. That's not a bad idea. You ended up with Scotty Barnes last time you did that. Now maybe you can end up with Scoot Henderson. Who knows? But let's talk about this as a whole. And here we go. The Raptors could be heading towards a crossroad with the core of their roster. If they continue to underperform, significant changes could be coming, which include moving veterans like Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, and Gary Trent Jr. writes Yossi Gonzalez. The Raptors still have time to continue to roll with this group and see if it improves. But with four of those players due for a raise within the next 2 years, it would be untenable to keep all four of them long term. It won't make sense to eliminate future flexibility for this group with the way they're currently playing. Now, if we wanted, what's the case for each situation? Which is the better deal for them? When you look at this team, they're what? Tied for the last playing spot in the East, and they're underperforming. The Raptors chose to run it back after winning the title, and they remained one of the top teams in the East. And you could say that they were just missing a player of Kawhi's caliber. Now, the Raptors are pick neutral, and they have good players that would interest other teams. A trade package featuring up to 4 first-round picks and some of their best starters would be as strong as any offer out there if they wanted to trade for a superstar. However, the only superstar we knew that they were in discussion for was Kevin Durant, and they said that they wouldn't trade Scotty Barnes. Now, the presence of Barnes can make trade discussions difficult since most teams would naturally want Scotty Barnes in any deal. With or without a star players, the Raptors core is going to be expensive. Both Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. have player options this offseason. Jake Fisher said VanVleet's looking for 30 to 35 million a year, while Trent's looking upward of 25. The Raptors would project to be little into the luxury tax next season if they re-sign both VanVleet and Trent Jr. to those respective salary ranges. This projection also includes getting a mid to late lottery selection and Otto Porter opting into his contract. There are still ways to avoid the tax by waiving Thaddeus Young and moving off of players like Porter and Khem Birch. And because the finances with this group are manageable to stay under the tax, the Raptors could choose to run it back, like I said, and just tank this year and retool their bench shooting, perhaps get, a center like Khalil Ware. And it'll be interesting because Siakam is probably going to be an all NBA player and he'll become eligible for the Supermax. And even if he doesn't, he'll be able to at least get like 4 years, 190, and max a 5 year, 285 million. And then you got OG Anunoby, who's able to get, probably like $25 million a year. Right now, they can only offer him, I believe, a 22.4, something like that, like $100 million extension. So if the Raptors do go in with VanVleet, Siakam, Anunoby, and Trent Jr. with raises, they'll likely become tax-paying team in the future. So you don't know if that's what they want. And then, of course, they could just blow it up. They're asking for a shit ton of assets for Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby, which rightfully so, they should be. But the interesting part in all this is I don't know what's the right move. And if you're a Raptors fan, I would like to hear your thoughts. I got my boy Thomas Perry always telling me about these guys. So, I think uh, it's interesting to see how this team plays and how they react to all this stuff. So that's where I'm going to want to hear your thoughts down below. Like, comment, subscribe.